Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Hype Watch channel. Tonight we are ranging beyond the wall, talking about the night of episode 8, Call of the Wild. Guys, let's introduce yourselves. Started with LT Giles.
What's up, everybody? Cyril T. Giles here, and it's finally over. I can't believe it went by really fast. And hey, let's do it. Let's talk about this great show we all watch from week to week.
James Michelle.
Yes, James Michelle here, and I'm very excited to talk about this episode. In my opinion, this was the best episode, and it contained the best moment in the series. So excited to talk about it.
And Don the Willie.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Don Willie. So glad to be here to talk about the finale of the night of.
Crack Nation.
Hey, what's going on, everybody? Down the Crack and Wit here, and it's a little bittersweet. I'm about to love this conversation, but I really hate the fact that the night of is going to be over. But I got to piggyback off of James. I think this episode might have taken the cake, and I'm just ready to talk about it.
All right, guys. So let's open it up with talking about Bops. We're going to talk about Detective Box, and he went on his own. Like, now that he's retired, you can see he had that little itch. It was bugging him, and he had to scratch it, so he went on and investigated things on his own. Came up with the new possible suspect of a character we saw in a previous episode, the financial advisor slash CPA, that he finds out was actually involved with the victim, Andrea, and apparently was doing some shady stuff and trying to create an alibi with them by using the tolls cameras, and then went back around and might have a little bit more motivation than our man Nas here. So, James Michelle, tell me what you think about this Box investigation and what he found, and then taking it to the DA, all of that.
Yeah. First off, Box, you done fucked up. I mean, I felt like this was kind of a rudimentary thing that he missed, and you finally caught it. You went and did your police work. But I felt like this was detective work he should have done the night after the murder. Like, it almost kind of seemed like a plot hole to me, because it almost seemed like it's like should have been rudimentary thing that he should have caught and should have been on the trail of from the start. But I obviously realized they needed to have a story that they were trying to tell here. But I thought it was a mistake that he made that was pretty amateurish, but he caught it, and he followed through on it. Fun fact, the financial advisor, if you guys ever watched the movie Road Trip, he was like one of the main guys in Road Trip. He was the stoner. And yeah, I've been saying it all along that the way that Aunt Andrea was killed, being stabbed 22 times, bleeding out, in a very violent manner, was a personal issue. It was someone personal. And I think it played out. We obviously didn't know at the time that the financial advisor, we saw him once, but we didn't know that he was actually involved with Andrea, and there was a security tape of them arguing. But yeah, it makes perfect sense that he's the one that did it. I believe that you can definitely nix Nas off the list, even though it's still maybe open-ended, but no, he didn't do it. I think it's pretty obvious that he did it, and I just wish Box would have caught up on it earlier, but like I said, they needed a show to do, so that's that.
Thanks, James. Kraken, what do you think about Box and his investigation?
I gotta disagree with you. I don't think that his investigation skills after his retirement was an itch. I think that he felt that something wasn't right the entire time, and we.
That's what I meant. Like that something right was like an itch he had to scratch.
Okay, yeah. You made it sound like he was like missing being a detective. I was like, no, I don't think he misses being a detective at all. It's just like his integrity was internally being compromised. So that's why he went back and started doing that. I gotta agree with James here. Like, how do you miss her? Like, and they even said after 9/11, like, there's cameras all over New York, or whatever like that. Even if that's the case, they should have tracked her whereabouts from, just her get or before her just getting into the cab. So I think they kind of dropped the ball on that one. They could have did it a little bit differently. Um, and then the fact that he even sees that, from like 1 o'clock to like 3 o'clock, that dude is at the house, or whatever the time frame was. And are we going to talk about Box and the DA and him in court? Or
not in court, but him taking it to her.
okay, yeah, and I think she well. We got to talk about both at the same time, so I guess I'll save that bit for a little bit later. But I got to give it to my man Box. He's been one of the best characters in the series all season, and I really enjoyed him, and just his demeanor, the way he spoke, the way that he carried himself, is an excellent character. So I'm glad that somebody was actually able to come through for Nas, instead of his lawyer in Stone.
All right, thanks, Kraken. Don Willie.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. Like, not that this was a low point for me, the whole Box situation, but it did kind of piss me off because it just seemed like Stone had been prodding Box this entire time and telling him, look, man, there's other stuff out there that you need to look into. And until it came to the whole thing of Box's integrity being questioned in the last episode about breaking the chain of evidence, Box was just willing to go with, okay, hey, this is what we gathered, this is the story that we built, and fuck it, we'll just stick with that. And I think, again, like I was saying last week, he wanted to go out with a win that was clean. And now that, his reputation in his own mind had kind of been, salted just a little bit, just, with the whole thing of breaking the chain of evidence, now he's going back and it's like, all right, look, you know what? Maybe I didn't, do everything that I was supposed to do correctly, so let me just dig a little bit deeper to see, all right, what is it that I'm missing? Why does Stone think this guy is actually innocent? And that's why he started to investigate further. With him taking the evidence to the DA and her reaction to it, and we'll get into the whole stuff that happens with her in the courtroom later on, but I was just kind of like, man, this is a crazy situation because now he's bringing this to her. She's just kind of like, yeah, well, whatever, this dude, yeah, he might be kind of suspect, but the kid is a better suspect for it. Look, if Box really felt in his heart of hearts that Nas wasn't the person who did this, then why not bring it to the defense then? Because this is evidence that they might have been able to use, to help him get off. If he really felt like Nas didn't do this. And so, like, this is just one of those things where I look at how things kind of play out in the criminal justice system, and it kind of makes you kind of second guess the process a little bit, because now I got to think to myself, well, if this is where they're kind of going with things and they're willing to kind of sweep things under the rug just to get a result, then what other things could have possibly been overlooked just because they already had the story that they wanted to tell, and It was like, hey, you know what? Somebody's got to be guilty, and this is the guy that we're saying did it. So, um, yeah, that was my big issue with Box. But I mean, he still a great character. You know, it was expertly acted and written, but again, it really makes me kind of second guess the whole notion of how you can just allow somebody to possibly go to jail for something that you know that they didn't do.
All right, thanks, Don William. Before I get, there's a reason I saved LT last for this, and I'll get into it. Mainly because I wanted to just say I think Box did amazing detective work, and there's a reason why I think that. People I've read a lot of people say that Box was, reckless. He messed up. It's unbelievable that he never did the, investigation to begin. Like, he didn't start out with this. But if you take a look at like a real life case, anyone who's listened to the Serial podcast knows it's a real life case of Anand Saeed. And LT's heard it because I know LT's listened to it. That's why I wanted to save him last. But if you look at the detectives,
I've seen it too.
oh, you've seen it too?
I listened to it.
If you look at the detectives in that case, they zeroed in on Anand Saeed, and they didn't even pay attention to they asked about all his friends what he was doing that day, got a timeline of everything he was doing that day. They didn't even bother finding out what the victim, what she was doing that day. The same way that Box, zeroed in on Nas, and then finding out years later, we found out things like the victim's current boyfriend at the time had forged timesheets at work, forged false timesheets to show that to create a fake alibi for him. There was another murderer in the same area that the victim was driving around, in the same vicinity, that also, choked and strangled and buried another Asian girl. So there was other possibilities that in real life happened that these detectives just didn't even look at. They didn't even explore. This is real life. They didn't explore and just zeroed in on this one guy, even though that there was possible that if they would have zeroed in harder, if they would have done enough investigation, they would have saw that it's probably not possible for this guy to have done it. And so that's why I give Box a lot of credit, because he went back and he, looked into the investigation, admitted like, hey, I might be wrong here, which is something you do not see in real life. Detectives seem to stand by their work, even if they're wrong. The system tries to protect the system, and you rarely see an admission of guilt, like by the system saying, yeah, we fucked up. And LT, what do you think about Box did, and how do you think it compares to
Honestly,
what's
don't
going
think
on
there's
with?
nothing I could say. You guys said everything. I mean, and everything you just said, I probably was thinking of. You just said it all, man. I just agree. I agree with all you guys, seriously.
All right. Thanks, LT. So, okay, so let's move on then, I guess, unless anyone has any last minute things to say about Box. Anything you want to add?
Yeah, Box did do great detective work, and he said it. He said, "I'll take a mile of evidence over a confession every time," and that's how cops think. That's what they're gonna do. They're gonna go for the evidence. They're not gonna go for, they got the evidence. They don't care, and I can't even talk about this because I want to talk about the court scene, so I'm just gonna shut up.
All right, well, let's move to the court scene. So, it was pretty much defense days here. They called up the witnesses. They called up the stepdad. They called up Dwayne Reed. They called up the hearse driver. And then I don't know what was going on. Like, Chandra just was tripping this whole. Ever since she kissed, she's just been tripping, and she decided it would be best to call up Nas. Nas gets owned by the DA and almost implicates himself, and then we get to the closing scene with after Chandra's been reprimanded for her work or for what she did, but her personal relationship with Nas. So let's just get to the meat and potatoes and talk about this. Kraken, what did you think about the defense here in the court scene, everything that went on up until the jury went to debate?
There was a lot that went on in the defense, and there was like basically zero that went against for the prosecution. The main thing I got from that is, and I wanted to bring it up earlier, but I wanted to wait until we got here. After Box brought up all the his new findings, to the DA, when he got up and left, it was straight up out of disgust, for what she was doing. And which, like, I think I can see why she did it, because it's a closed case, they got to end it, this and that, but it definitely changed her mind when Box just got up and left, and he just walked out and he shut her down for like a solid 10 seconds. Like she didn't know what to do. Like she was like looking back, she was looking around, she was looking at the jury, like just all this stuff. And she's not a person to like get under her skin or get her to act out of character. So that was pretty powerful for me. And just hats off to the defense by bringing all these people in, people that we've talked about all season long, and just asking the tough questions. And I think Stone was right. He was like, dude, she's not going to bring anybody up here to like interview them because that shows like doubt in her mind. Like she knows exactly who she wants. It's Nas, and it's very unfortunate. But just the defense getting all these people up there, I thought it was very well done. I was disappointed that we didn't go over any evidence that they had displayed in the courtroom. I was very disappointed in that. I figured that they would have a couple points to make just to keep maybe possibly me and you, the viewer, just kind of questioning. Like maybe some more damning evidence against Nas, or maybe something that would make us be like, oh, well, that shit don't make sense at all. How Stone brought in the other guy with the camera, the old man, and he just killed it. I was kind of hoping that we would get a little bit more of that, but we didn't. But I think overall, I was really satisfied, about the prosecution and defense on this. And when Nas got up there, even after he had eaten some drugs the other night, or like the night before, or whatever, I felt really bad for the guy, and I don't know, it was a great scene. The way that they filmed it, it was great. It was good for me.
Kraken, what did you think about the decision to even call up Nas? I mean, Stone was very much against it. Chandra was like, well, we need to do it.
I see why she did it. You need to give this man time to talk. Like you need to let him, even though that's what we're here for, you need to give him a chance to defend himself. And I think that by her doing that led to the jury, like leaving. And I mean she did a lot of legwork there with the different people that she brought up, with a lot of different questionable things about themselves, but Nas saying like, I know in my heart that I don't have that in me. And then, one of the last things that he says was, she was like, did you kill her? And he was like, I don't know. That just like ripped my heart out of my chest. I was just like, oh my God. And he's just being so truthful. Because if he'd have been like, no, I didn't, she'd have been like, well, bitch, how the fuck do you know? You're saying you don't know anything about that night. So I don't know. It was very well put together for me.
I'm guessing the 6 jurors might have had the same mindset that you did.
Yeah.
We'll get to that later. But LT, I know you had an itch that you wanted to talk about in this court scene. Let's hear what you have to say.
Well, all I'm going to say is that Stone did an amazing speech, and I was thinking to myself, I was like, if I wonder what it's like in a courtroom. Is that just movie drama? Do people say amazing speeches like that in real life? I mean, I've never seen it. I mean, yeah, when I was a kid, I mean, you got the Johnny Cochran if the glove don't fit. I mean, I don't know if that was amazing. I was too little to remember, but yeah, and then the whole putting him on the stand, it just made me think of Anand Saeed, how, Christine Gauthier didn't want to put him on the stand, and he wanted to be on the stand. And I wonder if it would have been different for him if he would have went on the stand. Um, and then, yeah, I agree with Kraken about the whole walking out of disgusting thing.
Don Willie.
So yeah, the courtroom, man. The defense was doing their due diligence. They were trying to throw as many curveballs for the prosecution that they possibly could. Your man Stone ran up on the stepdad and just like, motherfucker. He put them hands on him real quick and let him know, like, yo, I'm not playing games. You are gonna get on that stand and you are gonna help me get this dude out of here. Um, and the line of questioning that Chandra was using for the other people that she brought up, I think that helped to create a lot of doubt in the minds of the jurors because here you have the stepdad who was looking to gain a windfall profit from his stepdaughter's death. And even before the body was buried, he was out there trying to get that money. He had been arrested for battery and also had restraining orders against him. So obviously that's going to put doubt in people's minds, just those whole circumstances. And then the mortician was like, yo, come on, man. You being wild reckless with the whole cigarette on the cab, talking, whatever it is that you're talking, you're being evasive when answering the questions. Then you had Bodie from The Wire get up on the stand. He's up talking about he want to plead the fifth and all this other crazy shit, and he lied about him being with Dwayne Reed. Dwayne Reed has the MO of running up in people's houses and using their knives, specifically when he's committing his crimes. So I mean, like, as a juror, yeah, Nas was there, and yes, it definitely made him look guilty taking a knife, running like that, and also him being in the house. But you know, um, for one, Box getting up and leaving the way he did, like if I'm sitting in that jury booth and I'm looking at all these events happening, and when the prosecution is making their closing argument, and the lead detective, when she's in the middle of saying what she, giving her closing arguments, and you're like, oh, the police didn't have any other suspects, and the lead detective gets up and walks out, then for me, that's going to be like, oh, did they have somebody else that they didn't want to present? Like, are they trying to railroad this kid? Um, so that was pretty interesting just to see the way that everything kind of started to snowball a little bit, because they definitely were unraveling layers to the whole thing. So, um, yeah, I think it was definitely. I like the courtroom drama. It was definitely good.
Thanks, Don Willie. Kraken, do you have a response to that?
Yeah, I just want to propose the idea, and like Willie, I see how you come up with, Box walking out, and as a juror, it could be like, oh well, maybe that's a red flag, but I don't know how the jury would have come to the conclusion that there was somebody, or I'm proposing the idea that there was somebody that they didn't want to bring up, maybe with as confident as Box was when he was on the stand. as an outsider and not knowing what he did that for, you could have looked at it as, oh, well, you know, they just won. They just got their victory, and he's doing his fucking gangster victory walk out. You know what I'm saying? Like, just drops Mike, you know, and just kind of walk out, you know, kind of mindset. Like it was set in stone, like, oh, we got him, you know, kind of thing. I just want to, because that like immediately shot through my mind when you said that.
Set in stone. Was that a pun there?
No,
Okay.
no, it wasn't. No, it
Yeah,
wasn't.
I want to rebuff real quick, and I think Don Willie wants to rebuff a little bit, but I think the DA's reaction to Box leaving also created
It's true.
a little bit of a doubt. Like if she would have reacted like with pure confidence, I think it would have. I don't think it would have mattered. He might have looked like out bitches kind of thing. But the way she went back with doubt and apprehension, I think it made it seem like, hey, there's not something right here. Don Willie, I know you want to say something.
Yeah, I mean, listen, just think about it like this. You're sitting there, you know, she's giving her closing arguments, and, you know, she's got the knife in her hand. While this is, well, no, not while that part happened, but she's there and she's like, oh, you know, look at this that happened, or circumstances, blah, 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 and the police have nobody else that they're even looking at. And then right at that point is when the lead detective gets up, grabs his coat, walks out, and she stops and looks at him. And then the look on her face when she turned back, like, oh, shit.
That's some fishy ass behavior.
Yeah, you know, and then she just like, all right, fuck it, let me just try to continue and you know, just try to pretend like that didn't happen. You know, you can kind of see that she came back rattled after him leaving. So it's, for me, I would have been like, what just happened there? You know, because A, why did he get up and leave like that? And B, why is she now rattled by him leaving? To me, you know, I'm looking at stuff like that, and I'm like, there's something that happened here. Something is wrong. And then again, even the whole issue with Trevor Williams and Dwayne Reed. It's like the cops talked to Trevor Williams. They lied to, you know, he lied to him about Dwayne Reed being there, and they already know this. So I'm just looking at the whole, at the preponderance of evidence, and I'm looking for the stuff that is missing. You know, it's like what here is missing from the actual puzzle, and that's how. That's why I would have been like, all right, you know what? I wouldn't have been able to find him guilty right then and there, just based off of there's still something missing here. So that would have been my reasonable doubt.
Yeah, I agree with you right there, Don Willie. LT, did you have anything to say? Because you look like you were wanting to get
The
up.
only thing I wanted to say real quick is, like, I can't remember if you guys could refresh my memory, but remember in the beginning, Stone was like, you know, it couldn't have been him because if he stabbed him, there would have been blood all over his clothes or all over him. Did they mention that in the defense? I can't remember.
No, they didn't actually. I'm surprised they didn't.
Yeah, that was not mentioned the entire series, surprisingly, because you would have figured that that's something that should have been brought up by the defense, which the counter argument for that one would have obviously been, oh, well, you know, he took a shower before he went to sleep. But then it's still, the counter to that should have still been, well, where was the blood on his clothes? There should have been some clothing item of his that had blood on it. So,
Yeah, right. Okay, James Michelle, what do you got to say about this courts, the defense, and the court scene?
Well,
Scenes,
first off,
actually.
with the whole concurrent box investigation happening at the beginning of this trial, I knew from the second when Box looked at the videotape and he saw Andrea doing the head turn, that we could eliminate Hearst driver, Dwayne Reed. We could eliminate both of them because they didn't meet her until after she got into the taxi in the first place. So I knew we could eliminate them from what was from killing her. Obviously, I thought the whole stepdad part was great. He was definitely a strong contender until we saw that, afterwards, that it wasn't him when who she had the argument with. But I enjoyed his part on the stand because it definitely, I mean, he's a douchebag. He wasn't a killer, but he's a douchebag. Who preys on old elder women with money just to better substantiate his own finances. But I thought the DA, I didn't like when Box came into her office with pretty damning evidence. I thought it was damning evidence that it wasn't Nas and it was this guy they should be going after. She still decides to say, "Fuck it, we got him. We're going to keep continuing with this our trial." I thought that was not very nice, and she paid for it. I mean, when Box walked out on her, she definitely was hesitant. She almost became timid after being so confident in whatever she was doing. Before that, in the trial, she was always so confident, but then that moment we saw her confidence break, and perhaps that swayed the minds of some. Chandra, I don't know, what the hell Chandra was doing in this episode. First, she was smuggling crack to Nas. She was like on the street getting crack and smuggling it in, and then her career is done. I mean, I don't know what she was doing. It was weird. Like I didn't get it definitely. Even if I was Nas, I'd realize it. Maybe this isn't the best person that she represented me, because I would want my lawyer to be much more professional in that. Even if she was a good-looking woman, I'd still want her to be, very professional, doing her best to, get me out of jail. I wouldn't want my lawyer smuggling crack to me, even though if I'm a crackhead, I still wouldn't want her smuggling crack to me in prison. But yeah, Stone, his closing argument speech was, to me, it was the best moment of the show, the whole series. It was John Turturro knocked it out of the park. It was some of the best acting I've seen from him in a long time. From Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Or it's been a long time since I've seen him this good, and he nailed it. It was emotionally stirring, and I think he turned the tide, and he gave a great speech. So my hat's off to John Turturro.
All right, and thanks, James. And yeah, I was wondering what was Chandra thinking? Like, she was just started tripping ever since she made out with Nas. I said it earlier. I mean, I don't get what's going on. I thought she lost a lot of her edge here, and I'm gonna actually disagree with Kraken that the decision to bring Nas up, I thought that was terrible, and I thought Stone was right. It backfired in my opinion. It backfired, and I thought it made the jury. It made him look like someone like, yeah, I didn't do it, to someone who's like, well, maybe I did do it, and even if it's I don't know, maybe I did do it, that's still murder, that's going to get you convicted. So I thought that was a huge mistake by Chandra, and the only thing that really saved it was Box walking out and the DA losing her cool. That was my opinion on that. And quick question before we move on. I want to ask you guys what you guys think about the what were you guys thinking while the jury was away? What did y'all think was going to happen? And then when the conviction came out, or when the jury came out and said the decision. Let's start with LT.
I thought they were gonna convict him like that. Like, I was when they came out and they're like, "See you tomorrow." I was like, I know, Nazir's got a shot. I knew he had a shot when they said, come back. But if they would have, like, for some reason, I thought it was gonna be right off the bat, guilty. I kind of disagree about the whole not putting them on the stand. You want to hear from the person if they're innocent. I mean, I know me myself. If I was a juror, I'd want to hear from the person. I want to hear his side of the story. I like to think of myself as a good judge of character, and like even when Stone was saying the closing arguments, he said, "I knew from the second that it wasn't in him," and I was convinced. I mean, I was like, "What the fuck?" when he says, um, when he's saying, "I don't know," because I was like, "What are you doing? What are you doing, Nazir? I mean, you don't know, and he wasn't sure, but I thought it was a good idea to hear his side of the story.
Don Willie.
Hmm. I mean, you know what? It was interesting because they went to deliberation, and it was kind of like, wow, all right, how long is this gonna take? Are they gonna ride this out and try to stretch it out to make it seem like there was a super huge dilemma, or are they gonna come back straight away with whatever their um, whatever their decision is? So when they at first said, "Oh, coming back tomorrow," I was like, "Wow, that's interesting." And then when it came down to the final, when they're like, "Yeah, we can't come up with a consensus," and the judge was like, "Oh, well, who's the holdout?" Because in his mind, it seemed like he already was thinking, oh, "Okay, well, you've already convicted this. Like, this guy's already pretty much in the bag. Who's the last one that's basically trying to keep him out of jail?" Kind of thing. That's what it seemed like from the judge's tone. But then when when they were like, "Oh no, it's 6-6, and it's not going to change," I was like, "Okay, this is interesting." Obviously, this was done for dramatic effect, because how often do we ever hear about like a hung jury that's split directly down the middle? Um, but then also, when it came to the whole thing about are they going to retry it or not, and you see the look on Nas, Chandra, and Stone's face when they're looking at the prosecutor, and she's just kind of sitting there, like thinking to herself, like, all right, I could, railroad this dude again, put him, keep him on Rikers Island for even longer, because you got to think he's going to be on Rikers Island while they try to, relitigate this case, or do I follow up with what Box gave me and then decide to go from there? So, obviously she made the right decision, but it's just one of those things where it's like, damn, man, had she decided to stick with her guns, who knows how much more turmoil could have possibly come from that. So yeah, it was like I said, this ended pretty powerfully, and I'm glad that that we got to see this series, because it was really it was really kind of heartbreaking to a certain extent, but it was also very gripping. So,
All right, thanks, Don Willie. James, did I ask you what you thought about the jury and the decision?
No. Well, I thought after, I thought it was going to end bittersweet, so I thought he wasn't going to get convicted, especially after the DA turned the tables on him and made him look bad. I thought it was a slam dunk at that point, but then Stone came in and gave the gripping speech, which made a lot of sense. And, I thought what happened was possible, that I thought there could be deliberations, which there ended up being. And, of course, after that first night, I was like, okay, maybe it won't end the way I thought it was an end. When we talk about the whole stuff in jail, I thought it was an end a different way too in there. So I was like, okay, well maybe Nas will be free, but then something doesn't happen later. But we'll talk about that when we talk about it. But yeah, I mean, I thought he was going to be guilty after Stone's speech. I thought it was a chance that it could turn around, and that's what happened.
All right, thanks, James. Kraken.
I thought they were gonna fucking put his ass away, dude. Like, 100%. Like, there was just no hope for our man, and I just thought that, maybe that's how the show was gonna go, and even though we have doubts and everything, that's just how it fucking is, and they're just gonna put his ass away. But there was definitely some surprises there, and everybody pretty much, nailed it. So. Yeah, I don't know. I was a little surprised about the when they said that there was no answer today, but other than that, I thought they were going to put him away.
Yeah, I mean, I thought they were going to put him away too. Um, especially, it's kind of funny that it seems like me and James believe that he looked bad going up in the stand, yet that Kraken and LT seem to think he looked good. So I guess this hung jury thing isn't that surprising, considering we got kind of a hung jury right here.
Well, I don't want to say that he looked good, but it definitely made you a little bit. I mean, like, it made your heart go out to the guy, and if you had a doubt that he didn't do it, then what he said really made you feel that way a little bit more, so I don't know. I didn't say he looked good. I didn't say that,
Okay. Well, okay. So another reason I thought he was going to get convicted was because the DA committed a obvious Brady violation here, where anyone who doesn't know what that is where there's a certain set of things that you have to show. It's all about disclosure. And in this case, when she got that evidence from Box, she is required by law to give that because it's expository evidence. Evidence that shows that maybe Nas might be innocent. She's required by law to give that information to the defense. The fact that she didn't do that would automatically give Nas a retrial if he would have got convicted. And as soon as the defense brought that up, he would have easily gotten a retrial there. So I thought he was going to get convicted based on that, and then they're going to go through the appeal process, and Nas was and it was going to end with Nas staying in prison waiting for his appeal, showing the injustice of like spending more time in prison than necessary, taking longer to get his expulsion. So that's what I thought was going to happen. So I was a little surprised when we got a hung jury, and I really didn't see that coming. But one thing I want to ask you guys, and whoever wants to just blurt it out, did y'all think the judge was kind of a dick?
Yes.
Most definitely.
See,
I don't, because I guess so, but they were trying to, point out what happened with Sandra, and he was like, no, we're going to continue this trial, and I don't know, I guess 50-50, yeah, half dick, half not fully dick, but half dick.
He's like a Davos dick. He's not quite. He's got part of it, half of it. Okay, so before we get on to the ending of this, let's talk about everything else that went on. I don't think too much really went on, other than, we had Freddie talk to Nas about why he was, why while he wanted to be friends with him, and why he wanted to kind of protect him, it's because he felt he was innocent. He had the innocent look, the innocent smell, all of that. And then we also have the Chandra issue where, she gets busted, or they send the tape to Stone. And it looked like it was Freddie who had the tape sent to Stone, and to try and get a mistrial, and then it didn't work out that way, and Chandra ended up getting in trouble. So guys, tell me what y'all think about everything that went on that we haven't talked about other than the ending. So these two scenes and anything else. Let's start with Kraken.
I was actually kind of interested if James had a follow-up, because he brought up, what actually happened in the Call of the Wild, about the new wolf coming in and taking over and things, like that, and how Nas actually gets to, leave, and you see Freddy still in there, and it looks like he's pissed. I mean that whole nah, smells innocent. That was a little gay for me, but I mean, like, other than that, you know, I was kind of hoping that James would evaluate on that a little bit more. I was in after I saw the episode, I was like, I really hope he's got some more to say about that.
James, you want to talk about that now, or you want to talk about that in the ending?
I mean, I can talk about it. I mean, there's some aspects of the night of Call of the Wild. I mean, he's the wolf is essentially taken away from where he was from. He's put into this pack that he didn't want to be part of. He becomes like a mush dog, and he kills the leader of the pack, and he learns stuff. But I mean, in that also, he ends up being free. So maybe it's just the essence of, in the end, he got it. He went into this pack system. He learned a lot from the pack, even though they were kind of dicks to him, especially the leader. He kills the leader, becomes the leader of the pack, which he portrayed some of those things. He towards the when he went to go talk to the guy to get him in their system or whatever, saying for protection. He learned things from Freddy. He didn't kill Freddy, but in the end, the main dog in Call of the Wild ends up escaping and is free. So in that regard, I could see some parallels there.
James, what did you think about the two scenes that I mentioned earlier?
Well, I think they were interesting. Yeah, Freddy. We've had this whole notion throughout this whole series that Freddy is pulling some strings, or he's a dick in in the shadows. He's gonna do something. Something's gonna happen in here. Nas, and we'll talk about the ending, but in the end, he was just interested in Nas and was friendly with them. So looking back at the whole thing, it's interesting.
And one thing that I was kind of, I might have been overanalyzing it. It's like Freddy got the footage of him and the lawyer making out in the little visiting cell, and he somehow got it to Stone. Okay, but Stone thought that it was Box. Okay, and correct me if I'm wrong, but it was Freddy that got that footage to Stone, right? Like, that's why there was no information on it whatsoever. He even looked at the back of it to see like who is this addressed to or whatnot. And it does go back to that scene to where Freddy was like, like, you are innocent. Like, I feel that you're innocent. I know that you're innocent. And maybe in Freddy's mind, him getting a mistrial would be like the one thing that would save him from this. The one thing to actually get Nas out of this situation that he's in. Why else would Freddy give that information to Stone?
Well, also, you got to think a mistrial also means that Nas is spending more time at Riker.
See, and that's why I wanted to talk to you guys about it, because I just didn't look at it that way. And somehow I wanted to look at it like Freddy wanted to help him. Like, Freddy wanted him to get out of there. Because he knew that he didn't belong there. And, and he was like, I feel like you're my unicorn and I just want to take you and I want to protect you. But like, he knew that he wasn't supposed to be there. So Freddy was just trying to get him out.
Yeah, I can see what you're saying. But also, he sent it to the defense. So, I mean, the defense is only going to use that if they really need to. If they don't need to, then it's going to be a what do you call it? They're not going to have a mistrial if he's winning. If they think he's going to lose, then they have that in their back pocket. Maybe that's what he was. Maybe that's how he was helping.
I don't know. I think he was genuinely trying to help him. That's what I think. So.
Me too.
LT, what do you think about these scenes with Freddy opens up about why he likes Nas,
Yeah,
and also what happened between Chandra outside the courtroom?
Well, let's talk. Before I start on this, let's talk about some of the mistakes that I think Nazir that Nazir made. The fucking tattoos. Those were fucking stupid. I mean, the hands and just making himself. He had another tattoos, just making himself look like a thug. I know that didn't affect anything, but to me it was kind of stupid, and I think Chandra was thinking that. And then her putting the drugs, yeah, that was out there. And let's go to another thing. I'm not. Fuck. Nazir didn't really have it that bad in prison. Petey had it bad in prison. He got protected. Okay, excluding the oil with the water and the guy taking his car. Look, the guy that comes in, and I know this might be towards the end, but I'm gonna talk about it anyways. The guy that comes in that he kind of helps, got a big ass knot in his head because some guy took his card. Nobody did that to him. He just basically punked him and took it. He could have got sent in a room and sexually abused like Petey did. He didn't. He had Freddie protecting him the whole time. So it wasn't really that bad. I'm not saying it was the best thing, and prison's not great, but he was under his wing the whole time. Nobody after that guy, the guy the fucking thing that after that nobody messed with them, so he was safe. So prison was not really that bad for him. It wasn't. And if he would have got a mistrial, I think he would have been safe the rest of the time. So prison was not that bad for him. It could have been a lot worse.
All right, word. Don Willie, what did you think about the Freddy scene and then Chandra getting disbarred, or well, not disbarred, but taking off the lead? Anything else you want to add other than
yeah, man. So all right, so Freddie, wanting to help Nas, it was pretty interesting because you got to think, man. I mean, at least from what I've heard, dudes in jail, don't want to help anyone else out. And especially if they know that there's a chance that you could get out, they're going to do whatever they can, especially if they have years to go. They're like, you know what, no. You don't get to walk out of here clean. Now, Nas didn't get to walk out of there clean anyway, just with the experiences that he had to go through, but I've heard stories of, somebody is on their way out and somebody will pick a fight with them so they'll have to stay longer. Or, we were all expecting Nas to get attacked and possibly killed on his way out. But, Freddie, from the beginning, was the guy who was like, look, I can tell that you're different. I would do that stuff with these other guys. I would, might beat up these other guys or pimp them out to an even larger extent than what he did to Nas. But it's like, hey, look, you might be stuck in here. They might convict you. But this isn't where you belong, so I'm going to try to help you to not, be a convict. But if you're going to be a convict, I'm going to at least tell you how to survive. So, him realizing the situation, because obviously he's in good with the COs there. Obviously, the CO told him, hey, look, this is what happened. And him, doing enough reading in the library, he knows, oh, okay, well, if there's any kind of misconduct with the defense attorney or, whoever, and an inmate, they can get a mistrial. So that was a pretty interesting way of him trying to help Nas. Now, yes, it would have kept Nas on Rikers Island for longer while the prosecution tried to retry the case, but it's better than him getting an outright conviction. Now the backlash that came from that, the end result with Chandra getting removed from being the lead defense attorney, and also her subsequently getting fired and possibly getting disbarred. I mean, her career is ruined. Over a momentary lapse of judgment, but it wasn't momentary, obviously, because then she's up there getting drugs for dude. Now, the one thing I was trying to think, I'm like, all right, well, What was it that she smuggled in? Because she gave him a pill that she got out of the drawer.
I thought it was Adderall.
I know, man. Like it had to be X. It had to be X. It had to be, and like he chewed it because like it was a bag of pills, you know. And like I know that he was like smoking crack and everything, but then like when the camera like kind of zoomed away from him, but it was like looking down at him, like his eyes borderline like rolled into the back of his head, and it kind of went into like slow mo, you know, like instead of like just taking like an initial hit of crack, you know, like don't ask me how I know all this, but you know, it had to be X, you know, and Adderall, they're either like blue or pink, and they're more of a manufactured product and looks like something that you know somebody has like a stamp that made in their basement, you know. So I I don't know or it may have been yeah, just like James said, it may have been heroin based, you know, ecstasy or something like that. I just don't see it being the crack that he was smoking, you know. But I did anybody think like initially I thought that he was asking her to have sex. That's why she was buying the condoms. But then very quickly, right after that, I realized that that's what she was gonna do. Like for a second there, I was like, she's about to fuck this man in the fucking prison. You know, I was like, holy shit. Like I was like, this girl just done gone off the deep end. You know, I was like, holy shit. You know,
Like she's giving all kinds of client services here.
yeah, man. I was like, this is the luckiest inmate in the world. Like, look.
I would have been happy for him if he would have got some because it was already over. But no, did anybody notice that the guy that she bought drugs from with Sticky Fingers, the guy that was locked up there, that was him. I totally recognized him. That was him, dude. Um, that I just want to point that out.
Sticky
Oh yeah.
fingers.
Wait, one more thing. Sticky Fingers. He was from a band Onyx. He was in the cell. He was next to Nazir in the bed before the other guy. He was the ball-headed guy. Oh, so one thing I was wrong about that I was going to talk about real quick is I thought that every time Nazir was smoking, because he did go into visions, like thinking about what happened. I thought the drugs were helping him get visions, but when he did them again, he got no visions. I was wrong about that.
I think it was Shade of the Evening. I think we figured it out.
Well, you know what though? I mean, the other thing though that kind of got me, especially about the stuff with Chandra, was like I'm wondering if she knows that Stone was the one that gave that DVD because they never really expressly went into whether or not she knew that it was Stone. It was just kind of like he got the DVD, he looked at it, and the next thing you know, they were talking about can we get this mistrial, but they never explicitly, you know, they never showed the two of them having a conversation about it. They never, you know, showed like the judge didn't say, "Oh, well, hey, you brought this thing to my attention." He just said that it was brought to his attention, and it wasn't just explicitly stated. So I don't know if that was meant to be debatable or not, or if it was just supposed to be implied that that he gave it to the judge and kind of threw Chandra under the bus, and we're supposed to know that. So I mean, did anybody else uh like did anybody else have a question about that particular thing?
I mean, I was questioning everything Chandra was doing. I'm like, what the fuck? Is she taking stupid pills or am I taking crazy pills? What's going on with this girl? That was just me. I don't know what y'all want to say about that. But
I'll save my
She
answer
was
for the I'll save my answer for the end because there's something else I want to talk about because there's a few things in this show that are left up to us, so I'm gonna save it.
all right. Well, you know what? How about we move on to the end? So, James, what did you think of this? How this ended?
well, going when Nas was leaving the prison, that was about as tense as it could get on the show. It was some of the most tense moments I can remember watching anything, because I thought for sure, I thought it was it kind of ended bittersweet, because obviously Nas is a fucking crackhead now, and his relationship with his mother is beyond repair, and well, not beyond repair, but it's definitely strained at the moment. There's definitely, some bittersweet moments. But I thought what was in it when I heard, because I heard from some reviewer that watched, one of the professional critics. Oh, he said it was a bittersweet ending. So I assumed that, I was watching this. I was like, okay, one of these guards under Freddie Sway is gonna freaking shank him or shoot him in a back room or something. I thought it was good night Nas. After he got, out on a hung jury, I thought, well, he's gonna die then. And even afterwards, after he got out, I was like, okay, someone's gonna shoot him, because this whole they've been showing sort of a Muslim was Islamophobic kind of view of certain people that have happened because of what happened in the show. Maybe someone like would have shot him or something because he got out, and they thought he really killed her or whatever. I thought something like that was gonna happen. I thought maybe he was gonna freaking OD on the crack he was smoking at the end. I thought he was gonna die. Is bottom line of what I'm trying to say. So it's good to see him that he lived. However, obviously we now see that Nas is a crackhead. He's probably unemployable, or it's going to be hard for him to get a job. One, because he already has his, there's already a stigma around him. And of course, the neck tats and the Sinbad tat's not going to help at all. Like I said, the relationship with his mother is strained. He just didn't seem very happy. Like, he seemed like a changed man for sure. Like I said in the chat earlier, the toothpaste is out of the tube and you can't put it back in. So I think Nas is definitely, it affected his life going forward. But it was good to see that, Stone got the cat back. So the cat lived. But yeah, it was definitely a bittersweet ending, because we saw Nas get out of prison. We're 99% sure that it was the other guy, the CPA, and but at the same time, a little sad, because obviously we see that Nas is he's not on the same path as he was before he went in. Definitely a changed man.
James, do you think that if they convict the CPA later in the future, that everyone's going to still say Nas did it?
No, I don't think so. But he still, his image is still has taken a hit, regardless. The neck tat. You don't get a neck tat. It's usually not a good idea.
Especially one of a crown. LT, tell me what you think about.
Oh, I'm glad you called on me, because I wanted to go next. All right, so agree 100% with James. I was terrified for him when he was leaving, for Nazir when he was leaving the prison. I thought somebody's going to shank him. I even thought when the door opened, the first door, because they went through this door to go to the gate, I thought maybe, the cops are going to start. I don't know why, that's what I thought. Then he's walking out the big gate. I thought when he walked out the big gate, so I felt the same way as James. I thought he was going to get killed. I thought it was going to be Chandra for some reason on the other side of the gate, but it was his father. Box was on the money in that scene at the bar. I fucking loved it. It was so awesome. That to me was such an awesome scene. He was telling him, I'm going to get the knife. In the guy's face. I knew he was guilty when he said, you could speak to my lawyer. And he left his hat. I'm glad. Okay, so the cat thing was great. I was happy about that. The cover of that song, I've heard it before. It was an old song. And every time Stone was in his house, he was listening to a lot of oldies. And I really liked that. But I'll tell you guys, are we doing final thoughts, or should I save disappointments now, or should I save it for then, Jared? All right, I'll go anyway. Okay, so my biggest disappointment of this show and this episode is I kept on waiting for it. I was looking at the time of how long the episode was left. And when Stone was sitting there in the house, I thought they were going to put on the news that fucking idiot is arrested, that's some kind of breaking news. That pissed me off. It's left up to us if he got arrested or not. This is the final episode. We're not going to find out if this guy got arrested. But in my mind, he did. The scene where where Nazir was in the coffee shop and he saw the guy and the liquor betrayal. That was pretty powerful too. But it also was kind of cool how Stone. I can't remember what he said, but something positive to him. And another scene that was really crazy was when they were sitting there where he was sitting there. Oh yeah, sorry. So when he left the house too, I was scared that somebody was going to shoot him outside the house. I'm like, what are you going outside for? It's midnight, dude. You just got out of jail. Somebody could get you. I was scared there. But when he went after the coffee shop, when he went to the place where they were together, and it's funny because James or one of you guys mentioned how pretty this girl was. And I didn't find her pretty at first, but when Nas was sitting there and he was reminiscing and thinking back, she was really pretty. But that was, I'm leaving it in my head that Nas, he gets clean. Yeah, he's a crackhead, that he's going to get clean eventually. And maybe him and Sandra right on to the sunset, like I said. But that's all I got to say.
Well, maybe. Kraken.
I don't know, man. I just the whole thing for me, I just feel that Nas is ruined. And I do agree with LT that we should have seen more other than Box just walking up behind the guy. I'd have just loved for that dude to been somewhere and just like the whole like police squad just like ransack on this guy, and just take him out, but just what I really took away from it is Nas is a broken man, and just like we've heard before, his family is ruined, and it just goes to show that's what happens, that's unfortunately that's what happens. But my real final thought is just hanging out with you guys and doing this weekly. It's been such an enjoyment, to all of us get together and everybody that joins us in the live chat, that watches us later. It's been a fun ride. It's been a short little ride, but it was definitely interesting. And before we called it quits on this one, I wanted to ask you guys, do y'all want to do Westerworld or Westworld, whatever it's called?
I haven't watched it yet, but once I watch it, I'll get back to you on that.
It's not out.
Yeah, it hasn't came out yet. The trailer's up.
The trailer looked very interesting, and I'll probably watch it.
I'm probably gonna watch it too, just to give it a shot, and then I guess after all of us watches the first episode, then we'll reconvene. But if not, then no worries. But it's a lot of fun for me to actually hang out with you guys. I've said it time and time again. Y'all are my favorite people to work with. So
let's take a vote. Westwood, aye.
I mean, I say aye already, but I say let's. Jerry may be right. Let's watch the first episode, and then before we say anything, let's talk amongst ourselves.
Well, let's not go in. Let's not commit to where it could end up a Fear the Walking Dead or the Bastard Executioner situation.
Or Preacher.
Or Preacher.
Well,
Preacher.
It has like Anthony Hopkins, Ed Harris in it. I mean, I think it's going to be legit. Dandy Newton.
So it'll be better than the Bastard Executioner.
Yeah, like watching My Grass Grow was better than that show.
Don't discuss the Bastard Executioner. That's a bad time for me.
Yeah, but you know what? Going back to what Kraken said, he's a broken man. I kind of wish we got the broken man speech here since we didn't get it on Game of Thrones. But,
Boom.
Speaking of being upset about not the no broken man speech, Don Willie, what'd you think about the ending?
So yeah, man, the ending was very, very bittersweet. There is one thing I would like to clear up, and that is that he actually was not smoking crack. That was heroin. So, being someone who has ridden the subway late at night here in New York, you get to know the difference between the crack addicts and the heroin addicts. Because the heroin addicts, they start to get all droopy. And if you notice, every time Nas smoke, he started to get the... that's what we call the Dauphine lean. So, yeah, man, that was pretty messed up. We didn't even get to see what the aftermath was for Chandra at all. You know, I'm glad the cat got saved. You know me, I got a special place in my heart for cats. But you know, at least Box and the DA were actually gonna do the right thing and go after the right person. But yeah, oh yeah, when he saw when Nas saw his boy in that shop when him and Stone was sitting there, the look that he gave him, yeah, his boy is just up there like,
Well, they shit his pants.
He got out there real quick.
yeah, he's like, don't look at my face, no, please, please don't look at me. Yo, so that was yeah, man, that was crazy to say the least. I'm just like I said, I'm glad that we got to see this series. I thought it was really important just to get a look at the different sides of just dealing with the law. I mean, because you got to think about it when you see stuff like Law and Order, right? Law and Order, we only, for the most part, see the perspective of the police and the prosecutors. We don't really get to see the perspective of the defense and the inmates, right? It's always about, okay, the cops are going to interview this suspect or this witness or whatever. They bring it into the DA. The DA is looking like, oh, we can't use this. We can use this, blah, blah, blah. But this time we got to see kind of a 360 view of the entire system. So it's not just, only from the good guy's perspective. We got to see how an inmate has to adjust to, to their environment to survive for the months that they're awaiting trial, and also, kind of trying to mentally prepare for the possibility of never coming out. But then also, Nas, coming home and him thinking like, you know what, my mom thought I was a killer. My mom might still believe that I'm a killer right now. And him having to deal with that, and it's like, all right, well, how do I cope with my own mother thinking that I might have actually killed somebody? And then,
Go
remember,
do some heroin.
yeah, but
That's how you cope with that.
yeah, but then also think about the fact that when he was in the trial, when the DA was asking him the questions about him having sex with Andrea and him not really wanting to answer because his parents did have a certain perception of him. Like I said, it came from a more conservative background, and so now not only was that shattered just by the events that led up to this whole trial, but it also got taken a bit further because now the DA kind of put him in a position where he had to really come out and show that he wasn't the person that they thought he was. And so his brother was looking at him funny because now his brother, who was probably thinking that his older brother might have been kind of a nerd or something, now his brother is looking at him. He came home, he's all diesel, he got his head shaved, he's tattooed up, and his brother's looking kind of scared now. The father is just like, he's just glad to have his son home, and he never believed that his son was guilty of that, but there's still the consequences and the fallout that they got to face, because you got to think about it. There's the legal bills that they still had to pay. There's the family reputation. You notice they had to put, the house was up for sale. They got to move somewhere where nobody's gonna know them now, and try to rebuild. And that's
I was gonna say, not to mention the loss of income they had from the cab and
Yeah,
and then
man.
losing his job.
So like it. The thing that I like is that they showed that it didn't just affect just Nas. Everyone took a hit from this whole thing. Everyone was affected in some form or fashion. John Stone didn't come away unscathed from all this. Yeah, he finally technically kind of won a big case for him, but he's still back to dealing with the low lives. It's like, oh, he gets this big thing now, and it's just right back to dealing with the scumbag drug dealer or the prostitute or the pimp or whoever it was that he was dealing with. That, like he said, 95% of the time, those people are guilty. You know, Chandra ruined 100%. What's she gonna do with her life now? She lost her job. She might get disbarred, and even if she doesn't get disbarred, there's gonna be some kind of ethical ramifications where you know if she tries to go to another law firm, they're gonna hear about this. Can she even practice law in the state of New York? Without it being an issue anymore. You know,
I personally had no empathy for Chandra. I thought she made a bunch of dumb decisions that a professional lawyer shouldn't make.
I agree there.
Could I ask all you guys a question about Sandra's boss? I didn't really get what she meant. Like, she was nice to her, but then she's like, "No, get the fuck out of my office." So I know she fired her, but are they still friends, or what's going
No,
down there? Explain to me, guys.
I kind of thought that was kind of her shtick. Like she was like that before too. She was like she would kind of like butter people up and then drop the hammer on them. That's kind of what she did. Like, go get him, slugger. Go finish the job. By the way, get your shit out. Get the fuck out of my office. So I think that's just kind of how she operates.
Yeah, I think James nailed it right there. All right. So what I thought, I guess, about this whole how this ended. Yeah, I thought there was a possibility that Nas was going to get it in some way or some form. Maybe Dwayne Reed is pissed off that he came back and shanks him or something. I don't know. It was intense, and really, if you think about it, there really shouldn't have been anything that should have killed Nas. So, good job of building the intensity out of just our nervousness as watchers. Um, and yeah, I guess I mean at first when I saw him smoking, I was like, um, man, he's gonna have a nasty crack addiction. But then again, he might be able to get rehab paid for by the city for being wrongfully detained. Um, but I don't know. But now that Kraken's confirmed that it's heroin, or no, it was Kraken. It was Don Willie confirmed it was heroin. Damn. I mean, I don't know much about heroin, but what I've heard is that once you take one hit of heroin, you're never the same after that. So that's pretty fucked up. The Yeah, and then I think this just goes to show that everyone gets affected by what's going on here. It's not just Nas. His life will never be the same. But you can do his best to go on living it, trying to pick things up and get through this. One thing I wanted to ask you guys before we leave. I know we have an idea of who's done it, but they didn't tell us explicitly. So I want to ask you guys, what do you think actually happened on the night of? Give me your theory of what went down. Who wants to go first?
James does.
I'll go first if y'all want me to go first.
No, I can go first. I think what happened was he was pissed. She was acting out. She just wanted to, they had an argument. She wanted just get out of there, maybe hang out with someone new, have some fun, and that's what they did. I think he came over. They probably got into an argument when he saw Nas was there. Nas was all fucking ketamined out, so he didn't know what was going on. And in a fit of rage and passion, he stabbed her 22 times and bounced because he knew Nas was there, so he couldn't sit there and like clean up the whole time. But I'm sure he got nervous and just left. And he tried to cover his tracks with the whole toll booth things, and that's what I think happened. I mean, I'm for sure that it was him and not Nas.
I thought he did the toll booth thing before going over there. He went to the toll booth, then he turned around. Like, he got on the toll booth to make sure he was on camera as he was going a different direction. That's what I thought.
I don't remember explicitly, but I think the rest is the same. I think he just went over there and saw Nas and, probably enraged and killed her.
No. You didn't see Nas. You can't. What kitchen? Do you remember that? He didn't see Nas.
That's true. Well, he might have saw if he would have walked in, but he didn't. He wouldn't have seen him. Just
no, if he walked through the front door, then on the way up the stairs, and that photographer or whoever the fuck he was, he said, "What kitchen? You can't see it." So I don't think that he knew Nas was there, or he'd have killed Nas himself.
That's what I was thinking. Like, he would have killed Nas himself, but he also might have explored just because he didn't see it on it, and it doesn't mean that he didn't walk around more in the apartment.
I just don't see him doing that, especially after committing a murder like that. He probably went straight up to her room. But
so what do you think happened, Kraken? What's your theory of the night of?
Well, we got him coming to the place, and then we got him spending X amount of time at the place, and then we got him leaving. And after a fight like that, after him taking out a withdrawal of money, only $300,000, and the place is estimated as $10 million. A brownstone, in that area is estimated as $10 million, which blew my fucking mind when I heard that. I was like, holy shit, wow, but yeah, there's definitely, some arguments going on there, and she was probably fucked up. She probably threw a lot of shit in his face, and hell, she might have even let him in. She might have been so fucked up, with all those phone calls that night, that he made to her, about the cell phones pinging all around everywhere. She might have let the fucker in. Like, really, and like, I've been in a relationship before to where like there's so many fights, but like you still wound up answering the phone call. You still wind up hanging out with the person. You still wind up doing this. You still wind up doing that with them. But then she probably came to the conclusion of like, I'm not going to give you no more money, or you can't take no more money away from me. And he just killed her. But she was probably so fucked up, and he can't see from going upstairs to her room, which doesn't constitute for the knife being missing. That's kind of a loophole right there. But I don't know. I just don't. I think he overlooked Nas.
Okay, well, it's a good theory there. LT, do you have a theory? Or do you try to ask Don Williams?
Yeah, my theory is Jerry Rodriguez did it. No, I'm just fucking around. Alright, so, yeah.
Jerry, you cold-blooded motherfucker.
You dirty rat.
Cold-blooded.
You emotional, compassionate, stabbing people 22 times, motherfucker. Damn it, Jerry.
I think it was very...
I don't think she had to let... I don't think she had to let him in. I think that he had a key. There's still, Box proved that they're a thing, and there's a picture of him. I think he had a key. Now, I completely agree. He didn't see Anon, because Anon fucking Nazir was, out cold, so he went up there. And see, they had that argument was heated. You could see on film. She's like, fuck you, motherfucker. I mean, we can't see what he's saying, but it was very heated. And she cut him out of the money. He wanted more. He lost that $300,000. Box was saying, all this money you lose here, or something like that. So he lost that $300,000. He wanted more. It's probably not even it's about the money. So all right, she's not going to give no more money. Yeah, I'm going to fix this girl. I'm going to fix her. So, yeah, he goes up there, probably lets himself in, goes up there real quietly. She's sleeping. You know? And then what did the badass guy at the camera say? And what I said, the back door. After he killed her, he had to make his getaway, right? So he went out the back door. Nobody saw him leave. And then, then Nazir wakes up and thinks possibly he did it. So this guy, he's guilty. I think we all understand that. I'm gonna ask you guys to give a rating of this series. I had a lot of fun with this series. I'm gonna give it a 9. The whole series 9.
Don Willie, before we give a rating, do you have a theory of what happened that night of?
Yeah, basically, he followed her to the cab, and he saw that she got in the cab or whatever. He waited for her to come home. I think he was outside that whole time, because remember, they went around for a little while before they actually went back to her place. And, remember, he used the Easy Pass to go to Queens, but then he came back with, he paid cash coming back. Because they mentioned that he had an Easy Pass, but he paid cash coming back to Manhattan. So then after that, he waits, he sees her with Nas. He goes, and waits until he thinks that nothing is going on. Nas goes upstairs. I mean, not goes upstairs, but he goes to sleep in the kitchen. And this dude goes right upstairs and might have thought that Nas had already left. Goes and just, pissed off, like, yo, not only are you pissed at me and talking about you don't want to deal with me anymore, but I saw you bring some random guy home, Norman Bates. And then, it was like, all right, well, I remember the last guy she was with was that dude. Leaves the knife on the table in the living room, walks out the back door because the back, the downstairs door, because that one was already open. So.
Yeah, okay. Could have done that. So, what I got from it, I got that he went and paid cash in order to get on camera to look like he was going home. That's what I thought, like the opposite way. And then he just turned around and not do the tolls, like went in opposite direction, so he doesn't show up on camera, just to create a fake alibi for himself. So I think this was premeditated. He was planning on going there and killing her before. This is probably not the first random guy she's gotten all fucked up and drugged up with.
Wait, hold on, real quick. Yeah, there's no way for him to turn around and not pay the tolls, though. That's the whole.
Well, he might have gone through the easy and not.
Yeah, but there's cameras on all the tolls either way, though. That's the whole thing. So if anything, he was just hoping that they wouldn't look at him as a suspect.
Is there any way you could exit the tolls and go an alternate route?
No, the only way for you to get to Manhattan from any of the outer boroughs is via a bridge. The only bridge that wouldn't have a toll, well, and this is the thing, see, he was coming from Queens, because that's the only one that has a toll to get to Manhattan. If he would have came from Brooklyn, or if he would have came from the Bronx, then no toll. But since he was coming from Queens, he had to pay a toll.
Is there any way to go from Queens to Brooklyn to back in?
I mean, it would have taken him a long time because
he had a long time. Remember, she was with Nas for a long time.
Right, but where he came from, like the bridge that he came across was in Midtown Manhattan. He would have had to go from Midtown Manhattan through Queens, all the way to another part of Queens to go through Brooklyn to come to downtown Manhattan to go back uptown.
Could it be done in 3 hours? That's the only question I'm asking.
Yes, it could be done in 3 hours.
Okay, that's my theory then. That's what I'm going with. He went through this, I mean, convoluted way just so people like Don Willie who live in New York are going to be like, why the fuck would he do that? And he can be like, yeah, why the fuck would I do that? You know? I have an alibi. I wouldn't do this crazy shit. So I think it was premeditated. And, yeah, I think he got cut out of the money. And, you know, just because I don't like the motherfucker, I think he was working with the stepdad. There was a little conspiracy there to commit murder because, you know, stepdad gets the money, but then he also gives, you know, CPA a big
I
chunk
just want
of
to say I
that.
love that, Jerry. I love it. I just want to say that.
You love it? So they had a conspiracy to commit murder, and, you know, maybe the stepdad might have been driving, and he could hide in the back seat so he doesn't get any caught on cameras. Or maybe he provided the motorcycle with the helmet. Like, so... And yeah, he comes in, does the you know, the fucking Norman Bates shit, runs out. Both of them know the house very well, so they can plan it together very well. And they probably figured there might be a random guy. If he's there, kill him. If not, run out. You know, if he's even if they saw Nas, it'd be like, oh, perfect guy to patsy to pin this on. So yeah, that's my theory of what happened. Her and this. He committed the murder, and the stepdad conspired with him in order to, you know, take the money and split it.
So, Jerry, could I ask you real quick? Does that make them two criminals like Brienne?
They've been making worse than Brienne. Well, no, I don't know if they're making worse than Brienne because she committed murder on Stannis, and she conspired to be part of a rebellion. So yeah, I guess they would make her like Brienne. So, all right, guys. So now that we know that the CPA is named Brienne, let's move on to what's the rating we would give for this series. James Bushell, what do you think?
Yeah. First off, you notice anything different? It's because my internet's down. I'm on my phone now, so going LT style here. I would say, I would give it. The whole series was great, without a doubt. It was very gripping, but it did a little disappoint me a little bit because it was less about the detective work and was more about the, like I said before in previous episodes, more about the social injustice. And it was all great, definitely great. I would give it a 9, a solid 9, almost a perfect 10. There was little lulls here and there, but Turturro's speech in this previous episode was just made it all worth it in the end anyway. So I give it a 9.
LT, we already got your rating. Did you want to say anything more?
I just wanted to say that disagree with James. That speech was, I put it right up there with the president. Anthony Hopkins played the president in Amistad with his last speech in the courtroom. I put it right up there. It was right up there with there. And Jerry, are we already doing sign off? So we're going to do that after the rating.
Go ahead and sign off if you want.
All right. Yeah. I got a big. I just recently caught up with the comics of Walking Dead, and I'm just on a high from what I read. So tomorrow I'll be talking about a little bit of the beginning, but what I just read. So if you are caught up with the comic books, tune in to LT Giles tomorrow to get what I think about it. And yeah, solid 9. This series was great. I can't wait till we do something else. We'll see what we do. You know, Hype's watch me, range me on the wall when Game of Thrones isn't around.
Wait, LT, what did you disagree with me with? I said the speech was epic.
I
And
said
awesome.
I agreed with you. I agree. I'm
Okay.
sorry. I agree with you.
My bad. I thought you said disagree with me. Well, I guess I'll sign off too while I'm at it. Tomorrow, I believe everyone in this panel actually will be joining me on my channel, and we're going to be doing a countdown of Marvel and DC movies since 1989, all of them. We'll be doing like a top 50 and a bottom 5, so hope you guys join us for that. It'll be fun.
All right. Don Willie.
Yeah, you know what? I would say that this one I would give a 9.25. A little bit, higher than LT and James. I thought it was an excellent series. Like I said, for one, I think the accuracy with which they portrayed the inner workings of not just criminal justice in a 360 manner, but being someone from New York and seeing that they actually really uh, stay true to how things operate in New York, and just kind of the attitudes. Sometimes you get shows that really try to water down New York and make it this kind of sunshine place. And yes, and it can be at certain points, but when it's dark, and I like the fact that they didn't shy away from that. So yeah, I definitely have to give them a lot of props on that one. Yeah, James already said you'll catch me on this channel tomorrow. For those of you who've been wondering where the hell my videos have been, look, I took a bit of a sabbatical slash hiatus, try to learn some new programs so I can make even higher quality videos, and I'm working on some different concepts. So you know, I probably be burning the midnight oil for the week, but I'm trying to get out the next video, which is the case for Dan and Dave. A lot of people were critical of us being critical of season 6, so I just would like to say yes, there is a case for Dan and Dave when it comes to Game of Thrones. Uh, but that's not to say that there isn't a case against Dan and Dave, and I will also be exploring that as well. So, yeah, hopefully I should have that out by this weekend. It's going to take a while because I got to gather a lot of clips and also just stills and stuff. All right, so thanks for having me as always, and I love you guys.
Hey, Don Willie, real quick, if Nazir would have been convicted, would he have been sent to Attica?
Uh, Possibly, Attica or Sing Sing. I'm trying to think what's another uh, Fishkill. I mean, there's a couple of places he might have been sent to upstate. There aren't any penitentiaries in the city. Everything is upstate in the more rural areas of New York. You know, pretty much the only kind of big jail we have before you get sent to prison in New York is Rikers Island. So, yeah, I don't know which one he might have been sent to, but it would have been somewhere a few hours away.
All right, thanks, Don Willie. Kraken.
Well, I'm not gonna leave James hanging, so I'm gonna like kind of film like this, so he doesn't feel alone. No, I'm just kidding. I can't do that shit. No, I had your back for like 2 seconds, James, for like 2 seconds. But yeah. Thanks everybody for coming and watching. Everybody in the chat room. There is actually I've kind of made up my mind. There is a video that I will be putting out tonight before I go to sleep, and so I can't wait to read all the comments when I wake up in the morning. And so even if anybody's going to sleep tonight, they'll be able to catch it in the morning. So it's probably not what you think, but I bet you that you're going to get a big kick out of it. So yeah. So I don't know, but beyond that, there is a lot of different projects that I have going on. It's kind of in the woodworks, and I've actually met up with a couple of friends of mine, and we're actually going to be collaborating. And it's not anybody that you've seen before. It's not anybody that you've met before. They actually do a lot of wedding photography and filming and stuff like that. And I think I finally convinced them to get into the YouTube game, and they actually helped me make the video that I'm putting out tonight. So it's going to be really fun and pretty interesting. And if you like me and like what I do and how I act and some of the jokes that I have, then you'll really enjoy this video. But yeah, Crack Nation, I love your beautiful fucking faces, like 100%. And your boy's back. He's coming in strong. So it's all good. Don't worry.
What'd you give the series?
Oh, let me give that let's say a 9.5 because I was disappointed like that much at the time. So probably just a solid 9.5.
All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and give this show a 9.5 as well. I knew where it was going with the social justice, all that, and I really dug everything it just about did here. There's only a few nitpicks I really had that would, bring it from a 10 to a 9.5. Things like, I thought Nas went a little overboard on his blending into Rikers Island and, getting in with the culture. I thought that was a little too much, right? Too fast. And then things like this past episode, no acknowledgement of the Brady violation that the DA was causing here. Would have been nice to get a little more accuracy there, but those are just a few things. Overall, the series was excellent, and enjoyed it a lot. And yeah, just so that's my thoughts on the series. And as far as what I'll be doing, just be doing some hype watch things. We'll be trying to think of some more. I mean, we got a lot of ideas here that we're going to be trying to roll out, and we'll see what we can do next. Might be this Westworld or West whatever, this West something. Maybe it'll be a Walking Dead thing. Maybe it'll be something. I don't know. The Hype Watch will be around, and we will be here for you to entertain. And Don Willie, I am looking more forward to the case against Dan and Dave, just because I like reading all kinds of screenwriting and stuff like that, storytelling, and then these guys commit so many cardinal sins, it's not even funny. So.
Oh, I'm waiting for the hate mail to come for that one because listen, I have to call it how I see it, but again, there is a case for Dan and Dave, and that's going to be the first one, So for anybody saying, "Oh, you got the best," nah, I'm going to give them the due that they do deserve on both sides.
That's fair. Let's call it the trial of Dan and Dave. Trial of the seven.
Bring back Jerry's bad King Lawler.
Well, he's not very rational, so I don't know if we want to bring him back. We might have to bring like Jerry the Master of Laws or something like that. So Jerry the Lord and Steamboat. There you go. So, anyways, everyone, thanks for joining us for the night of. Thanks for joining us all these past 8 weeks, and we'll see you next time.